Chapter 1. Peril. It was patently obvious that I was in trouble. Serious trouble. Regaining consciousness, I rolled over, blinking against the stark brightness in the room. I found myself lying on an old mattress, the dark cover stained and soiled. The room smelled musty, like worn socks that had lain in the bottom of the laundry basket for too long before washing. The last thing I could recall was being dragged away from Stryker and Marianne's wedding celebrations by a group of men. What had happened between then and now? How much time had passed? I didn't know. I pushed myself upright on the mattress and looked around. There wasn't much to see. The mattress lay on a concrete floor. The walls, too, were made of solid cement. A tiny window filmed by a thick coating of grime was situated in the top of one wall. It gave the impression this room must be positioned at least partially underground to need the window so high. In the wall opposite the window there was a door made of metal and deadlocked. There was no handle. I raised my hands to my head, pressing my palms against my temples and squeezing my eyes shut as fear overwhelmed me. I had a funny taste in my mouth and felt groggy, slightly disoriented, which made me believe I'd been drugged. Shaking my head firmly, I tried to remove the last vestiges of fuzziness. I needed to be alert, knew I had to think logically about this situation if I was going to get out of here alive. My eyes were tired and dry, and I rubbed my fist against them. With a quick glance, I confirmed I was still wearing the beautiful pewter dress, and I sighed with relief. It gave the illusion nobody had touched me while I was unconscious, and I clung to it, not wanting to consider the alternatives. Anything could have happened while I was out of it. My mouth throbbed, and I touched it lightly, wincing when my fingers brushed across my lip. There was a deep split in the skin, and it was swollen. Running my tongue across my lip, I discovered one of my teeth was a little loose. There didn't seem to be any other physical damage. It was satisfying to discover that the edge of the ankle cast was damaged, where I'd kicked the goon who'd touched me so intimately. He'd deserved it. The biggest question to answer was, what did these people want from me? My heart began to race as I pondered the question, and I made a conscious effort not to hyperventilate. Panic was the last thing I could afford to do, not when I was in so much trouble. Breathing slowly and deeply, I tried to examine the situation logically, working my way through the moments before I was snatched away from the wedding. I recalled Lucas and the others reacting in an identical fashion, mirroring one another's movements. They'd all raised their heads and sniffed the air, aware of something or someone approaching. Their sense of smell was acute, heightened beyond normal human ability, and I suspected what they'd smelled was something supernatural rather than human. It was the only logical explanation for their reaction when they'd already been surrounded by dozens of human scents at the reception. There was no doubt in my mind that the wedding planner had been vampire. When I'd met him and he shook my hand, his skin had been cool to touch, but I'd been fooled when he carried the bags of ice through the house to the marquee. No doubt he'd done it deliberately to confuse me. I focused on his name, repeating it in my head, trying to think if I'd met him before, or heard his name mentioned in the past. I drew a blank.